Rule number one for moving onto a boat in a boatyard: don't forget the bathroom key. So what do we do when there's no time to make dinner?
We make buffalo rice.
Buffalo rice. Just rice, buffalo, and cheese. Look how incredible this vacuum attachment is. So much cleaner. Just sanded. Probably twice as much as I did in the last video, and you know, just a little bit of dust. So it works really well on the edges. It still slings out just because of how fast the angle grinder is moving, but overall vacuum attachment works really well. Now we get to see if this piece actually fits. So you didn't really get to see it well, but basically when I put the piece over, all the way from maybe here down and around, it was actually fitting pretty well. I have maybe 2 or 3 inches that I need to sand down and move that contour over on this piece over here to get the dimensions right, and that'll basically get from here up and around. And as we get down to this bottom part here, as you can see, I have 3 sides sanded down. As we start getting to this one here, what's going to happen is basically as we round this corner down here, this taper will actually decrease and kind of flip to the opposite side. So what'll happen is we'll have actually very little taper down here on this piece, and when you look at it from the side, what'll end up happening is the board will be inset at the top and sticking out on the bottom, so we'll actually go across the bottom to make it even with the hole. So we'll actually grind the outside of this piece down instead of the inside. But other than that, yeah, just some more grinding, and we'll be getting pretty close. So I finally just got set up with a fancy new vacuum attachment for the angle grinder, just to make a little bit easier cleanup process. And I finally get set up and ready to go. I turn it on, and you know, I'm using it for a few minutes, and the power kept going out. I kept tripping one of the surge protectors we have out here, and for a while I thought I was just pulling too much current because I don't normally have the vacuum on the same cord for that. So I thought I was just pulling too much current, moved it over to another cord, and then I saw finally why it was probably tripping the current. I just cut out the old toilet through hole, it looks like. I have to go to the store and get a new router bit though, because I actually cut right through the pipe there and tore up my router bit. Took some nice big chunks out of the side of it. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Well, I guess that's why. New plan. So surprisingly, these areas actually look to be in good condition. So I actually didn't expect that. So that's a good find. So I'm gonna grind all these screws down on here, and well, we'll see what it looks like after that. So I have this thing here, and I have no idea what it is, but this is the top piece, and it appears to actually go down through the whole keel here and out the bottom. So I don't like it, don't know what it's for, doesn't seem useful to me, so I'm just gonna cut it out anyway. Yep, and then this is just the underside of that piece. Like I said, no idea what it was. I assume at maybe one point it was part of the keel, but the owner cut them off the last time. The other side doesn't have one, so it's coming off. Okay, yeah, broke the block. Just seems to be a giant bolt, and I'm guessing is what eventually, or what used to hold on the keel. And since the last owner cut them off, I'm guessing he was just maybe too lazy to take that out and repair it, so he just straight up cut it off. So another little repair. So I've kind of been wondering what this hole was, and I'm thinking that just kind of answered my question, finding that last bolt. So I'm guessing this used to be where the other bolt was holding the keel on. And my headlight's going out, but whoop. Technical difficulties. Not sure what that is either, but it's coming out. Looks like a grounding plate of some kind. Just to show everyone what we're talking about when we say putting staples through the side, you can see here there's some corrosion there, and it's starting to eat away at the wood also. So it's fine. It's fine when it's fine, but then you start getting into other areas where eventually water gets to the staples, and it'll actually start to rot out all the wood around it. Like this was a particularly bad one. So you want to try to reduce that as much as possible, otherwise it's gonna weaken the wood around it. So when you're doing these patches, there's a couple strategies you can go about it. You can see right here on this part of the hull, it actually has a pretty good curve. So there's a couple ways I go about doing it. But what I've decided is the best and quickest strategy is to first grind down the sides that are traveling across the curve. So for me, the vertical parts of the curve, and I ground down the vertical parts of the piece first. And the reason for this is you actually are going to grind a lot less of the horizontal perpendicular parts to the curve. So it's easier to grind these down first, and then to come back and slowly go past these, so you don't grind them down too far. So that's what's been working best for me, and you can see here, I've actually ground down too much of the, or not too much, but I've ground down probably a sufficient amount on the parts traveling across the curve. Now I need to come back and grind down some of that. And when it's all said and done, you'll see it touches going all the way around, or very close to touching. And I'll epoxy it on like this, come back over and grind down from the outside the remaining portions. And that's pretty much how we get to something like this, where it's smooth all the way across, and it matches the curve pretty well there. So that's the general process. Just got this piece hung, I got resin pushed out on all sides, so it looks like we have good contact. You can see here, yes, I did choose to extend past the bottom there, but it's just because of the way I ground this bottom edge. Like I said, so I intend to leave it hanging over and sand from the outside in on that piece to get the same shape as the hole, and we'll be working on securing it to the ribs on the other side as well. So looks like it's doing all right. We'll let that dry, sand it down, see how it looks. We actually just had another breakthrough here. So the neighbor has been watching us for a little bit and told us about a tool that he has, a nice special grinder with special pads, and we just tried it on our boat and it looks like it's gonna work for us. How fast is it?
It's very fast.
How long did it take to do this?
A couple seconds.
Did you have to strip it first?
No, we didn't use any stripper this time.
And did it go through the fiberglass?
No, no.
A little bit of swirl marks, but we're gonna ferre those out anyway. So this just might be what we needed.
You get it done much quicker.
So he was telling us a little bit about it. It's got a vacuum section for the grinder and a special little barrier here that it helps deflect or catch all the deflected particles while you're sanding, and it basically it pushes air out and vacuums at the same time so that it catches most of the debris. It just goes right down into the vacuum with a little filter and works great so far. So we're actually gonna see, he's been nice enough to lend this to us for part of the day, and we're gonna see how much we can knock out. What'd you find?
We're growing some creatures underneath this amazing fiberglass over paint over fiberglass that was done before we got the boat. Pulled it off.
So this patch of stuff was underneath fiberglass?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. So we haven't actually opened this yet, and we were kind of hoping to use it. You can see it's pretty big. It's maybe 2.5 by 2 feet. So we were gonna clean it out and use it, which we did to an extent. You can see not a great space here. So now we're trying to decide what to do with it. If we want to keep it, use it, clean it, we're not sure yet. But it had tons of cans of what looks like paint and a bunch of other things in it, all nasty and gross. So we cleaned that out and some of the water that was in there. Yeah, we're not sure. Just cleaning the fridge out. It's the second piece we've removed. So it looks like something got in my waistband last night, and it's super itchy and doesn't feel great. Ember. Another thing I wanted to take a second and talk to you guys about is how we have internet on the boat. So we did a ton of research on this and found some really cool stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you a little bit about the internet setup we have. Just a quick look at the hardware. We have a Netgear 4G 3G modem and just an old router, nothing special about it. I have done some modifications to it, which I'll explain in a little bit. We also have a separate router that we'll be bringing onto the boat from my actual home setup. So there's nothing special about the setup. I have modified the router just a little bit, some of the settings and software that the router uses, and it doesn't really do a whole lot, but what it does is treats all the devices on our network as if it was coming from just the one SIM card device. Basically, it bypasses hotspot data, so you can have unlimited data, and if you have limited hotspot data, you can get around that. With the plan we have right now, it doesn't really matter, because we pay $80 a month. We have unlimited data and unlimited hotspot data, and it's a really cool plan because there aren't any throttles. We spent a long time looking for a plan that doesn't throttle you after a certain amount of data. I work from home a lot, so I just couldn't have speeds that are that slow. Now, we do have deprioritized data at times, which I'll show you what that looks like, but it's still workable. If we really wanted to, we could probably still stream, do videos, so it's really not bad. And the perks of having a setup like this is we have crazy fast upload speeds, so that's good. Just to kind of show you what I mean by that, this month we've used a little over 100 gigs, still have a few days left in the month. We've been doing a lot of Dropbox transfers, and we're gonna just run a quick speed test just so you can see what deprioritized looks like. We're deprioritized after 50 gigs. Okay, well that's not totally accurate. We'll let this finish and run it again. So usually what I'm noticing is once you connect to the network and actually start using the data, it ramps up. So you can see there it's much faster this time around. Okay, well there you have it. So it's fast enough, like I said, to stream videos. We can go to YouTube, and we don't have anything that's too crazy. Okay, so we're on 480. See if it keeps up with the full HD.
I'm not gonna make the same mistake. You know what happens to you if you go through with this. I have everything I need to have you court-martialed and dishonorably discharged. The end is inevitable, Maverick. Here they go! Over here! Over here!
So some minor buffering in HD.
Your instructor is one of the finest
You
pilots
can see
this
here
program has
it's
ever
picking
produced.
back up again. But yeah, it's just the buffering we saw earlier. That was the only bit of buffering it's had. It's played through the rest of this in video and
Like this has never been done. And
full
Chester will
HD
never be
here.
done again.
So kept up just fine. And I'm currently being deprioritized, so still fast enough to function. And then at the end of the video, we finished up at these speeds here. So, yep, it's a good product. We're excited about it, and we think it'll work just fine for us. Okay, so as you can see, it's not by any means gigabit internet, but it's still fast enough to use for your day-to-day lives. You're not going to get throttled and cut out. It works for us. So if you have any questions about that setup, just let me know. I'll provide the information you need to get started on it.